All right, welcome to the Real Estate with Soul. Here we explore real estate with soul in the real estate industry. I'm your host, Khalid Nathan Aleem, the real estate boy, and together took a deep dive into the stories and experiences of professionals who are dedicated to serving the underserved communities in the real estate industry. So whether you're a real estate professional, a home buyer, or simply interested in the real estate industry, this show is for you. So join us as we dive into the world of real estate with soul. So I have a very special guest today. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Khalid, for having me on the show. My name is Elizabeth Parris. I'm a senior loan officer with Movement Mortgage, bringing you just about 8 years of mortgage industry expertise.
Hey, well, thank you for joining us. Now we're going to hop right into it. The real estate industry right now is all over the place. If you look on the news, a lot of we're suffering from um, uh, high interest rates. Now, high interest rates meaning recent high interest rates, because if you look at over time, we are in the normal range. But of course, a lot of people have amnesia. With a lot of things in the industry or within the news, just period. So um, I want to jump into affordable mortgages, if you want, how people can afford to get into these homes right now. So, what special programs or proprietary or in-house programs do you guys have right now that's kind of tackling this issue of high mortgage rates?
So we have two major programs as of right now. One is called our MMCA grant, which is a conventional grant program, a true grant, non-lienable. You do not have to pay it back. That's up to $8,000 for the purchase of a 1 to 4 unit property. And I know that's very important for a lot of folk as Fannie Mae is changing their rules right now. Come November 18th, you'll be able to put down 5% on a multifamily up to 4 units. So that program is incredibly helpful for clients who live in a qualifying area. They can purchase anywhere they want to within the country. In regards to minimum credit score, which I tell all of my folk, 620 is always the door entry for conventional. But if you really want to be able to qualify, give us a 680 or higher. That makes it easier to get through the underwriting process, gives you better pricing and a better interest rate option as well. And along with that MMCA grant, if you're in a position to take advantage, we're doing either a 2-1 buy down or 1-by-1 buy down with that
Okay,
program.
hold on, because you're going super fast. Now I know this is something that you deal with every day, but some of the viewers out there is like, okay, she going way fast. So let's step back a little bit. All right, so that first grant that we're talking about, what's the name of it again?
Called the MMCA grant.
MMCA grant. Okay, and that stands for Movement Mortgage.
I actually something assistance. I'm terrible. I
Okay.
just know MMCA grant. You're asking me a lot here.
All
Asking me
right.
a lot.
So so the MMCA grant.
Yes,
Okay, and that's what for 8,000?
up to $8,000, 7,500 in down payment, closing cost assistance, $500 appraisal credit.
Okay, gotcha. Now, what type of credit score do I need for this?
To get through the process simplistically, give
Mm,
me a 680 and up. But if you have a 620 and you're able to get through the process, it's a conventional Fannie Mae product. So 620 minimum, 680 or up if you would like better terms.
all right. Now, what type of income restrictions do we have on this
No
product?
income restriction on this program.
No income restrictions. So you can make $1 million and still be eligible for this product.
That is correct.
Oh, wow. Okay, no income restriction. Now, how about purchase price?
Purchase price. Last I looked into it, it's just always within the Fannie Mae confines. We don't have a purchase price limitation except for what Fannie Mae dictates, which I think now it's up to a little over 700 is Fannie Mae's or FH, the Federal Housing Association now has I think it's a little over 700,000 for purchase price.
Right. So that would be the same as the KFIT.
No, not the same as KFIT.
Okay.
So, um, the Federal Housing Finance Association, FHFA, which I want to distinguish, they set the purchase limit or pricing or loan limits for Fannie Mae and conventional loans. They
Okay.
already did an update. So now, if you're buying conventionally, up to I think $765,000 is the limit. We don't have a purchase limit on our MMCA grant. We don't have income limits. That's kind of
Mhm.
been the benefit here. Of this program. You just have to live in a qualifying area, and that's based on census tract.
Okay. Census tract. Okay. And like you said, this is a conventional product.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Specifically under Fannie Mae, and I would like to make that distinction.
Okay. Under Fannie Mae. Okay. Why is that important?
It's important because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are two different conventional lending investors, and they have slightly different needs when it comes to underwriting. So, Freddie may have different pricing. They don't necessarily have the same type of allowances to give grant or down payment assistance, and they have different programs themselves. So, I make that distinction also because Fannie is moving to a 5% down option. Freddie has always been a 5% down option for multifamily purchases. Fannie has not. Fannie is now moving into that space. So it is specifically through Fannie Mae.
I always had a question: who made these names up? Because why would you make them so close as far as Freddie and Fannie? Because if you're not in the industry, I mean, it's easy to get them confused.
I would agree, but I'm going to say because I don't know the full history. I mean, then, and at the time I probably did, but I could definitely tell you these are all agencies that bred around the same time. So
Okay.
you have Fannie Mae, you have Freddie Mac, you have Ginnie Mae, all of these different investors and entities that came about and had their connections, as we know, and so now they're still here.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. So this product, I guess, and I'm making this generalization. It's somebody maybe who other programs. Oh, the other question I have about this program is: do you have to be a first-time home buyer?
You do have to be a first time home buyer.
Okay.
Here's my caveat. If you are a married couple and one of you is on title, deed, and mortgage of a property, the other spouse has never purchased and never been on title deed or a mortgage, they can in fact get this home if they're looking to move up or move down. If it's going in the name of the spouse who's not on any property, because you have to have, if you have two couples or two people in a buying, one has to be a first time home buyer. If you're on your own, you have to be a first time home buyer. Just want to make that distinction as well.
Oh yeah, that's huge because a lot of them kind of cap you up if yeah, a lot of them cap you up where if the husband has a home in his name but the wife doesn't, if the husband isn't the first time, they kind of put them together
Hmm.
and say, okay, well, no, your husband is, so that means you are too by default if you want. Okay, but with this particular product, like you're saying, if the husband has a home but the wife hasn't purchased anything in her name, then she could get this product. And
Absolutely.
and it seems like it would target because most of the down payment assistance programs target lower class or not, yeah, lower class or middle class, low to moderate to middle,
Hmm.
but this one includes the middle and includes high class also. Is there any liquid asset restriction?
No,
No liquid asset restriction.
no.
Okay. So if I'm a first time home buyer, I
Hmm.
got a decent credit score. Now, like you said, this is a conventional product. So yeah, if I do come in with a 620, what other hoops do I have to jump through? Because we know normally if you got a 620, you're not um, qualifying for a conventional product.
You're not. You're not,
Okay.
even though that's the minimum score requirement. And I like to make that distinction. That's
Mm,
the gateway of entry is a 620, but often it's challenging to get a clean approval. So I'm just going to tell clients whenever you find yourself under a 680, above a 620, having more money in the bank or some type of form of reserves, maybe it's in retirement, because I know with low to moderate income, you may not
mhm,
necessarily have the money in your bank account, but it may be in retirement, right? Having very low debt to income ratio
mm,
and then being able to put down a little bit more than the minimum down payment. So instead of 3%, sometimes coming in, putting in 5% or 10%, depends on your scenario. When you
mhm,
have a lower credit score for a conventional product, it's helpful. The reason why these are considered compensating factors, being able to put a little bit more money down lowers your debt to income, lowers your credit risk. Being able to have more money in savings means you have something called reserves or money left over after purchasing, which often is some multiple of your total monthly mortgage payment, either 2 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 8 months. Again, that can be held in retirement. Sometimes I have married couples who the one has the higher credit score and the one has maybe the 650. Often they're still able to get through the process because there's a strength in income and there's more compensating factors. So just think about anything with lending is always about credit risk. When your
mm,
credit score is closer to the bare minimum entry level to get into a lending product, you have to
mhm,
come in with more savings, most likely put down more money, and then also have a cleaner credit history and have strong income so that debt to income's low, assets are there for reserves, and then also you just again you lightened and lessened your credit risk. That's always the rule. Um, when it comes to conventional, as of the last couple years, because as you said, people have short memories, when you are looking to do conventional, coming in strong with a 680 and up has been a better option for most families. Depending on what you're purchasing, meaning multifamily, sometimes coming in with a 700 score has been better for those clients. But understand, if you're not in a 680 and up range, come with stronger compensating factors: savings, low debt to income, a credit-worthy cosigner that is a spouse. Please don't ask your family. Um, all of those things matter, and I think that's important for people to understand before they go off of buzzwords. Oh, 620 is a minimum. Great, I'll get in there. No, no, no.
Right.
It'll be hard. The rate and the points, the fees are going to be higher. So give us the higher credit score or have the compensating factors.
And I think the important part here is to have the conversation. Have the conversation with an expert versus just going off of what you pulled up on the internet or what you seen on TikTok or what somebody told you, what your aunt's grandmother's baby mom told you about 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 credit. Have the conversation with an expert to kind of comb through your situation, because if they can't help you, they can put you on the right road. And I guess that's the probably the biggest thing, is getting on the right road to your destination versus just always being stuck on the sideline, which is super important.
Yeah, and be open to that guidance. I find that unfortunately, people get so especially in our community, and I have to always highlight that because there's a difference. There's like a level of anxiety and desperation that comes with buying a home at some point in the journey. And it's because everyone likes the fire of rates are high, inventory's low, you got to buy now. You don't want to always pay someone else's mortgage or rent. And it's just like, but wait, are you actually ready to go through the process? And
Mm,
often a lot of clients are not ready to go through the process because they are in their minds about, well, I should be able to only pay $2,000. I should only pay $3,000. I should only, they have a list of things that don't really make sense based on where the market is. And so when you have a lender or a realtor, especially a lender, telling you, hey, actually, no, it's more expensive to operate and purchase in this market. Here's how you need to prepare. Oftentimes, some clients aren't ready to receive that information or prepare themselves. They just feel like they can panic themselves into getting the deal done. And oftentimes you can't.
yeah, listen, be open. I mean, when you go to your doctors, you don't tell the doctor as far as, all right, well, no, I don't want to take that medicine. Let me take this other medicine. Or even when you go to a lawyer, you don't say, oh, well, I don't want that defense. I want this defense. Just in the same breath, this real estate industry has professionals.
Mhm.
And I just piggyback on what you're saying. We do this for a living every day. So we kind of know what works and what doesn't. Just like your doctor, I mean, he's really guessing. He doesn't really know exactly what's wrong with you, but because of the symptoms that you're telling him, he's saying, okay, in this box, it's usually this, or it's usually this. And we all know from experience, sometimes, a lot of times, they're not right. So, and anyway, all right. So this, like I said, this product, I guess the really catch, not catch, but the really eye-opening thing for this product is that there's no income limit. Because with a lot of the other products out there, there are income limits. So if you're out there, if you're a first-time home buyer and you're looking to purchase, but you've run into roadblocks because of income, we should definitely sit down with Elizabeth and see if this product is good for you and how we can get you some more money. Because, like she said, you can get up to $8,000 with this product. Now, with this $8,000,
Mhm.
you had mentioned this previous, but you can use this for closing costs,
Down
down
payment.
payment, buying down the rate.
If it makes sense in your numbers, yeah, you can buy down the rate.
Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome. What about purchase price? Can you apply this to the purchase price?
So, not directly.
Okay.
There's a way to structure deals where you can kind of maneuver the purchase price versus down payment, and but you can't really apply it directly to the purchase price. That can be a challenge.
Okay.
So,
All right, great. All right. So let's move on. I guess
mhm,
as far as down payment assistance, what
mhm.
else? What other in-house programs do you guys have?
We have our Movement Boost program, which is an FHA program, and that is 100% financing. It is 100% because you have a 3.5% or 5% down payment assistance, second lien.
All right, second lien. Okay, so the MMCA, is that a lien also? That's a grant.
Nope, that's a grant, true grant.
That's a
You don't have to
grant.
pay that back. And just so we're clear, it is the Movement Mortgage Community Assistance Program. I find
There we go.
there we go. See, but MMCA, y'all,
There we go.
work
Now,
with me.
now this movement boost, it's a FHA product, and as we
Mhm.
know, you have FHA. FHA came into the scene to kind of help those who usually historically wouldn't be able to qualify for a conventional loan, which was
Mhm.
the only product at that time. So we have FHA for your lower, your more risky, according to their rules, your more risky borrowers,
Higher credit risk
higher
borrowers,
credit
right?
risk. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right. So it's 100%, 3.5, or 5%
Down payment assistance lien, correct.
down payment assistance.
So, key points into this program, that second lien is repayable over 10 years unless you should refinance early. So, kind of similar to the PHFA KFIT, except you are paying this back over a 10-year period. Um, but I'd like to stress the importance of why this program is really helpful.
Hmm.
One, the income limits on this are about 160% of the area median income, which is pretty high for a grant program. So when I have clients who make more money than what allows for PHFA, this is a great program that I can transition them into. The other part about it is debt to income ratio threshold for us is 55%.
Okay.
Where
That's
we're
awesome.
at, yeah, whereas PHFA KFIT is 45.
Okay.
Because this is an in-house program, if I have clients who are presenting with a clean profile, we're able to
Mhm.
move this a lot faster right now than PHFA KFIT, just because I know they have a huge volume of clients, and often sometimes
Yes.
they can't underwrite their files quickly enough
Yes.
within the contract timeline. Um, and then the other part about it is we're able to do manual underwrites on this. Often, if I've had challenges with the file, I'm able to get exceptions. Um, and also, our pricing is pretty good. I just quoted a client like a 6.875 on this the other day.
Ooh, nice, nice, nice,
Yes,
nice. Okay.
yes.
So just looking at this now, you can do 3.5. Is it 3.5 up to 5%, or is it kind of one or the other?
3.5 or 5%. It's that's it.
One or the other.
hmm But
Okay.
I apply that based on what makes sense. So if you're putting
Okay.
3.5% down, but you need the full 5%, then I'll give you the full 5%.
Okay. And just to be super duper clear, this is a second lien, and
Second,
it's not a forgivable lien. So it's something that you'll have two payments for this particular product.
correct, correct.
Okay. And I guess this is to help people get into the loan, because if you didn't have this, then you would be paying this out of pocket.
Absolutely. Again, it's another option to give assistance. I like to be very, very upfront about that. Hey, you
Mhm.
are repaying this, but I also preference this with my clients. This is a temporary option to get
Mm.
you into the property. We're now watching the rates and the market, because the minute you're in a position to refinance, you can refinance this property and just move yourself strictly into a regular mortgage, as long as
Well,
you mortgage qualify.
right now, just looking at conventional wisdom, because I mean, and this is my particular theory, is that when rates do go down, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I think everybody's going to be waiting to jump back in. Everybody jumps back in. We go down, let's just say 5%. If we go back to 5%, now everybody jumps back into the buyer's pool, because activity right now is, I mean, over 25% less than it was a year ago. So you have almost a quarter of people, more than a quarter of people sitting on the sidelines. What is it now? We're in November.
Mhm.
Springtime comes around, or not this spring, but maybe next spring, and rates are at 5%. Everybody jumps back in. You get in with this product, and
Mhm.
you are carrying a second lien. But when equity runs up, then you can refinance, use some of the equity to pay this off, and kind of get back to where you need to be.
Yep, and you'll save that money. So, the running theme or thing that I always say, and I know a lot of my other colleagues say it too, you're marrying the home, dating the rate. The
Right.
rates are going, what goes up when it comes to interest rates eventually must come down. It may not necessarily come back down to where it was during the pandemic or COVID years. However, the appreciation is always going to go up on a property. So, be able to leverage that wealth building that you now have in gaining equity, and then refinance when the market's more comfortable. Sellers are more willing to negotiate. I'm seeing sellers assist more often on contracts than I'm not. I am seeing a lot of patience, honestly, on all sides of transactions when it comes to buyers agents and sellers agents. So honestly, if you can take the next 30 to 90 days as a potential home buyer to get your finances in order or come up with a game plan to still purchase within the next year before 2025, you can still take advantage of the opportunity to refinance later.
Right. And especially during this time, it's super slow out there. It's super slow in the market, and sellers can feel it. I got a couple of homes that are still on the market. Sellers can feel the
Yeah.
pinch, and they have bills also. Okay, the owners of these homes are not these black rocks or these other big corporations. These are mom and pop. Some people have moved to another state, another home, and they're willing to get this off the books. And if a home has been on the market for 30 plus days, look, and they are looking to play ball. So
Mhm.
this is definitely the time to try to pick up something because a lot of people are losing their patience and they want to get rid of that second mortgage that they got.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So, all right. So with this, is there a rate difference if I borrow 3.5% or 5% on the payback of that second lien?
So when it comes to this particular movement boost program, you have your primary rate. So say if I lock you into a 6.875 interest rate, that's on the primary mortgage, and you
Mhm.
take out a 3.5% second lien, you're going to pay a full percentage point higher in payback over 10 years. That's how that program works.
Okay, but if I get, I think I
Okay.
phrased my question wrong. Whether I do a 3.5% or a 5%, is there a change in the rate?
So it depends. It's about a
Okay,
quarter of an interest rate difference. It's not huge.
okay,
And it's not, it is more so about what you pay in points than anything else, but it's about a quarter difference.
okay. So this and as okay, so you said the income is 160%.
Of the area median income.
Okay,
That's the income limit.
so you can still run the bag up a little bit if you're so this is higher income limits
Mhm.
versus a Philly first where you can only go up to what
You
83,000.
can only it's just a little bit under 80% of the AMI.
Okay,
So AMI for Philadelphia right now is $114,000.
okay,
That's 100%. So most programs cap you at 80. Um, PHFA does 116. Philly First is maybe around 70, 75% or so on
okay,
just a one person household. We're
right.
at 160. So that's a huge gap of opportunity for high earners to take advantage of this program.
All right, now this boost is this just for first time home buyers or second time
Yep.
also?
For anybody who is looking to buy. So if you're looking for a primary residence, moving up, moving down, first time, second time, you can use it.
And that's one thing that we got to get out there. We got to get out there that these programs are no longer just for first time home buyers. It just has to be a primary residence.
Correct.
Now, the next question is for both of these. What
Mhm.
about duplexes? Do either of them allow duplexes?
So, the FHA program Movement Boost, you can buy a duplex.
Mm.
For our MMCA, you can go from a one unit to a four unit.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Mhm.
That is huge. Okay, so not to switch too much, but with the MMC, no income, conventional product, you can go to around, as far as purchase price, around 700,000. Um, you're getting up to 8,000, and you can do 1 to 4 units. Uh,
Absolutely.
but the caveat is you got to be a first time home buyer.
Got to be a
Can't be
first
a
time
second.
home buyer.
Got to
And
be a
you
first time.
need to be living in a qualified area, meaning if you're renting in an area of the city that is qualifiable, is based on census tract. I always like to make that distinction. You can
Right.
buy anywhere you want. So it's the first time home buyer and living in a qualified area. Living
Live,
current.
living currently in a
Living
qualified
currently.
area.
Yes.
Okay.
You can buy wherever you want, but you have
Uh,
to live in a qualifying area. And these
now, is most of Philadelphia a qualifying area?
there for the most part, there's still some parts of Philly that are not based on, gentrification.
Right.
So,
Right.
there's some pockets where it's like this not gonna work. If you live in
Okay.
Rittenhouse Square, no,
Okay.
you're not using this program. I'm so sorry for you.
All right. And as far as the boost, is there any restrictions like that also?
Nope.
All right. No restrictions, but you can only go up to a duplex.
Can only go up to a duplex.
Okay, and that's great for people who are looking to house hack. And if you've been living under a rock, as far as house hacking, that's when you buy two units, you live in one, and you rent the other one out, and that one that you rent out supplements your income. So if you definitely want to learn more about that, check me out. All right, so Boost FHA. Let's see if I have any other questions on that particular product. No, that covers it all. So this is for somebody that maybe doesn't have the best credit score. So somebody who does have that 620 credit score. So let's talk to those
That
people.
part, that part. So this the movement boost is minimum score 620. You're not
Okay.
getting it at 600, you're not getting it at 580. Minimum score 620. And when you're at the 620, make sure you have an approved eligible. So same conversation honestly as it is with conventional financing. When you're at a
Mm,
620, make sure your debt to income levels are low. Even with taking on the mortgage, make sure you have some type of reserves and savings. Is it a little bit easier to get you approved mortgage wise with FHA at a 620? Yes, it is. But also make sure those collections aren't there. Make sure we're paying bills on time because that credit profile really affects your ability to get a mortgage approval under FHA as well. So same rules.
and that's my next question as far as credit. Um, there are, I run into a lot of people who have negatives on their credit. Do I have to clean up all of those negatives? And if I do I have to clean up them before the pre-approval, or can I clean them up during the process?
It is best to clean them up before the pre-approval.
Okay.
Because once people get a pre-approval, everybody get excited, and you forget that you have a to-do list of things to manage, right? And it really depends. If you have a long list, things that I come across often: collection accounts, um, items in dispute, or recent lates within like the last 12 months. Honestly, if you've only had one 30-day late in the last 12 months, as long as you have a clean payment history, following that, that one helps your credit score. Collections, though, those need to be cleaned up. If you know
Mhm.
you have more than $2,000 in collections, you need to take care of that, particularly for FHA. Um, that's going to be important to help you have a clean mortgage approval, or if you have to go through a manual underwrite to get through the manual underwrite as simplistically as possible. If you have anything in dispute, it needs to be out of dispute before I even pull credit because we don't get
Mhm.
to see your true credit score. We're looking at what your credit looks like as you hide things, as that's what a dispute does. It hides it from the bureau in the
Mm.
calculation. So doing a soft pull on credit with a housing counseling agent or with a lender who does a soft pull credit, hi, how you doing? And me being able to go through and say, hey, there's a dispute, needs to be removed. There's some collections, they need to be paid, paid down or put on a payment plan. As well as saying, hey, you've had too many like late on revolving or installment credits. Let's wait this out. We need more time away from these lates in order for you to get through the mortgage process as seamlessly as possible. And I have these conversations a lot.
Hmm.
It's not a new thing. It's just the reality. We're now in a part of our end of the economy where there's a lot of high credit card debt. We know that high credit card debt really falls on the lower income earners of our communities or of the nation than not.
All right.
So,
Right. Right. Now, just to give you a quick plug,
mhm.
I do know if somebody has credit issues, look, you need the desire to buy a home. Okay, that's number one. You have that desire to buy a home, reach out to us because I can hook you up with a lender like Elizabeth. And if you do have credit issues, she has an in-house credit program that can get you right before you get that pre-approval. Why don't you speak about your in-house credit program?
Oh, absolutely. I have a collaborating partner in UQual Credit Repair. We have a specialty pricing for all of my clients who are referred directly by me. So you're paying what it costs. I have two subscription services, maybe Netflix and maybe Disney Plus, and
Mm,
that's maybe $70 a month to do specific focus credit repair. We go through your goals, and my credit repair specialist tells you what you need to do. I'm able to monitor your progress as you go through, and then I'm able to do check-ins with the client and with the realtor who referred them. I've had several clients. I have several going through it. I've had clients go through it, and scores are up. We're talking 40 points jumped. We're talking 60 points going up. They're getting pre approvals. They're going out into the market to search. So that program is specific to what I'm offering in house. And again, it comes with a specialty discount as well.
and that's different. And I'm just going to jump out there and say that that's different than going through, I'm going to just call them Larry's Law. Okay. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you why it's different. Okay. It's different because you have a professional and Elizabeth overseeing it. So you have like a third party, big brother, big sister, looking at it. So you're just not out there by yourself, where you have some random credit agent telling you ABC 1 2 3. No, you have a professional
Yeah.
that is holding your hand. Um, so everything looks right, and if they're not doing their job, she's there kind of to police them and like, hey, you need to get this done. So you just have to have the desire. If you have the desire to buy a home, then you should definitely jump in there, touch bases with a professional, and let us get you back to financial health so you can buy a home. Because, frankly, buying a home is the foundation to generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
Yeah.
looking to break the cycle, if there's one thing, and this is a realtor's opinion, but if there's one thing that you can do to kind of break the financial cycle of disaster that a lot of us fall into generation after generation, is buying a home. Is buying a home. So I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, it is. It is. And it's also maintaining the home. So I'm very big on plugging resources for maintaining mortgages and maintaining properties after you have closed. Now that we've done all the hard work, it's not just getting the home. So you're starting the foundation of generational wealth. It's also being able to be knowledgeable about, hey, now your habits permanently change to maintain the home. Now there are resources to make sure you have the budget, that you're constantly staying on top of repairing credit and monitoring credit, and that you continue to keep the savings for emergencies, because there's nothing worse than saying you got the home and then a year later you're struggling
Hmm.
to maintain that home. There's too many
Mm,
resources out there. So no, I 100% agree with you. I have too many clients who are downsizing now. I have clients
mm,
selling these homes, and to be in open houses and to see how little I see of black families coming into these open houses
mm,
concerns me every time, because I'm like, these are great price point homes. This is an opportunity to keep your family safe, to keep a consistent roof over your head. I got to get to folk. Let's get this credit together. I'm serious. Let's get this
right.
credit together. Let's talk about budget. Let's talk about savings. Let's have the hard conversation of that everyone hates talking about. All the things you need to sacrifice to make this happen. Let's do that.
No, totally agree with you. And that segues us into this next segment, talking about the SHIBA report. So
Mhm.
let me share my screen here. One second. We're going to share the screen. Yeah, share this entire screen. Okay, I think I'm sharing it now. Uh, okay, let me have this come up. Okay, I think you got to do this with two screens now. I'm thinking about it. Um, all right, let me add this to the screen, and let me make me lower. Now I'm gonna remove me from the scene, and then
There we go.
I should lower me. No, all right, I'm doing this all messed up. Okay, here we go. That's what I wanted to do.
You got
All
it.
right, all right. So this is. Can you see my screen now?
I sure can.
Okay, and it's just on the state of black housing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So this what I did is there's something called the SHIBA report. Okay, the 2023 State of Black Housing in Black America. So the SHIBA report is a very comprehensive report from the National Association of Black Real Estate Brokers. So this is a trade organization made up. It's just like NAR, but it's for Black real estate agents, and they provides a detailed view into the real numbers and facts that impact and impede Black families from realizing the dream of home ownership. So what I did is I went through the entire report, and I kind of pulled out five things that they're suggesting that black families do to obtain home ownership, because that's what NARAB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers,
Yeah.
um, we're there to encourage Black home ownership, to facilitate Black home ownership. So, what are the barriers? And like I said, I went through the report. It's a long report, but I went through the report, and here are five things that they suggested. Okay, so number one is addressing systematic barriers. Okay, the report emphasizes the importance of addressing systematic barriers to Black home ownership, which date back to early 20th century discriminatory housing policies like redlining. These policies have contributed to severe racial disparities in home ownership rates and wealth gaps between Black and white households. What do you say about that?
I mean, knowing the history of redlining, the fact that you ended up getting the quite a few different legal acts put in place, we've even still seen it as recent in the last 2 to 3 years, even in Philadelphia, with
Yeah.
some lenders. They shall remain nameless at this time. So the reality of it is, in order to kind of close the gap in regards to redlining, and I'm seeing it through different types of programs coming up, is really putting a concerted effort and focusing, hey, we're now providing resources directly targeted to these groups because of the fact that we know they've been disproportionately affected. I know that there's a lot of blanketed language that is used so as not to
Mhm.
make things feel race specific, but it needs to be,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because this is the demographic that's been affected greatly without being able to take advantage of home buying in 2020 when the rates were like 3%,
Right.
2.75. A lot of communities didn't get the opportunity to purchase because some lenders were still denying them access to financing. So I'm interested to see what other federal regulations come into play, but we have a ways to go, but it definitely has to change. I agree with that.
No, I agree also. One of the issues that I have, and I've always had this issue, even with what is that called? I forgot what it was called. What is that called? Man, with the colleges where they, I'm going to sound real stupid right
Oh,
now.
it is the we're both stumbling on that right now, but affirmative action. There we go.
Affirmative action. Wow, I
Hmm.
can't remember. I can't
Hmm. It's okay. It's okay.
remember. Affirmative action.
Tag
What-
me in. It's all right.
One of the issues I had with affirmative action is that you can put as much money as you want at the college level, but
Hmm.
it starts at the kindergarten level. So, and that's one of the issues that I have with some of these programs now being geared toward, okay, yeah, we'll give $10,000, or we'll give $15,000, or we'll give $20,000 for you to buy a home. That's great, but people have to be at that stage to buy a home. We're forgetting about um, uh, financial literacy. We're
Hmm.
forgetting about having credit programs, maybe in high schools or even starting in elementary schools, teaching people how to open checking and savings accounts, teaching teaching college students about credit, teaching college students about home ownership, and also teaching high school. So it's like a lot of our people, and we're talking about this as far as the state of Black America.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of individuals psychologically aren't ready to buy a home, but that comes from the foundation. And some of those monies need to be, I guess, geared towards that to get people ready when people, or home job programs and things of this nature.
Oh,
I'm
no, no,
kind of
no.
all over the place.
No, you're good. No, no, no. I agree. There's definitely a need for a holistic approach. But you're going to be, in my opinion, just from what I've seen, we're going to be a little hard pressed to see a holistic approach happen. And that's where we have to get a little bit more involved on the local level. So through organizations like NAREB, organizations like the National Black Mortgage. I'm sorry, National Black Business Masters in Business Association. I'm involved with them,
Okay.
getting involved with other local organizations that are Black focused and Black centered on our progress as a community. That's where we kind of need to start pulling our resources and our connections to different schools and charter schools, in order to push forward. Hey, we want to start making sure there's an avenue for financial literacy, and there's a realistic, applicable plan for finance and mortgages. And oftentimes, you got to make sure people are ready to receive. It's nothing worse than
Mm,
watering dead ground, baby. It's hard. It's hard on that one.
that
I'm
was
gonna
real.
say.
That was real. That was real. That was real. All right, let's go to the second one.
Hmm.
Advocacy and policy change. It says it suggests that concentrated and coordinated federal efforts are required to narrow the black-white racial gaps in home ownership and wealth. This includes advocating for changes in policies that have historically disadvantaged black communities in the housing market. Can you speak to this?
So I'm going to say there's a lot of legislation that came about. I
Mm,
mean, between the the trade laws and the CFPB getting involved, like there's been a lot of changes in that space. But again, remember, our government hates putting everything in the space of black and white.
mm,
Um, and so we got to be careful about saying that that's going to be where they go. I don't think it's impossible, but I do believe locally there need to be some changes from state to state, municipality to municipality, because there's a lot of local legislation that limits the ability of black investors to continue to buy
mm.
properties, black developers to have shot at certain opportunities that exist in certain. Philly's a great example of that. Someone's going to be mad at me about this. Um,
No, it
there's
is. It is. It is. It is. I mean, there's not a lot of black developers, period. And I know there's a couple of groups now
Mhm.
that are trying to get off. But here's the thing about those groups, okay? Because these are some groups that I've tried to get into. Um, these groups, you already got to be kind of going. So it's not where you can say, okay, take me from basically not knowing anything to being a black developer. To get into these small groups, very small groups, you almost have to be already running, already doing flips, already doing rehabs, already be a GC in order to get in some of these groups. So that's one of my issues with them. And it is, I don't want to say a good old boys network, but a lot of it you need access, and it doesn't matter what skills you have. Or, and again, I'm not playing the victim here, I'm just speaking on what it is.
Nope, you're not the first person to say that, and unfortunately I know you won't be the last. But there are developers who will happily sit down and connect other developers, who are new, starting out, or maybe have a more established foundation, and they exist. I've had some really good conversations with quite a few. So I'm what I am going to say is there's got to be a lot of local legislation to
All right.
change, because I know that it's easier for a lot of folk to leave Pennsylvania and
Mm,
go to other states
mm.
and do.
Atlanta.
Georgia's big, Florida's big, Maryland's big. I'm just tossing out a couple states I'm also
Uh,
licensed in that also show an easier pathway forward to start development and to get your foot
mm,
in the door. So
all
if
right.
we're talking about legislation, which I agree has to change and has to be adjusted, the conversation now needs to be had locally. Federal is going to do what federal does all the time, and they have made certain progresses and changes again in the way in which people's credits looked at, how lending is done.
All right.
Um, there's the Federal Housing Act. I mean, right, that was a huge like leverage change in order to allow black people to be able to buy homes. We know that, right?
Mm,
Um, so at this point, now you need to start tackling locally because that's also where you have some of those challenges. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not saying no names. I am, I got to
we,
work.
yeah, no, definitely, we're going to push forward. All right, the third recommendation is economic participation and labor market performance. Improving black labor market performance and economic participation is critical. Despite some improvements, there are still significant disparities in employment and income between white and black Americas, which affect the ability to own homes. What's your opinion here?
Hmm. I mean, there's always going to be there has been and continues to be a wealth gap, and an
Mm,
income gap. I mean, between men and women. When you break that down by race, you can see the disparities even greater. We know that I think it's what 70 cents to a dollar is what I want to say black women are paid in comparison to their white counterparts, and black people are paid in comparison to their counterparts. When you break it down between black men and black women, you also can see those disparities. So I'm just going to say this because I am not 100% on all the numbers and stats. In order to People need order to have access to jobs and trades that allow them to actually get work in those
right,
jobs and trades. I
right.
have found just from watching over time, while there's been progress, there's still a lot of limitation in black tradesmen and tradeswomen getting access to jobs that are going to lead to them having a solid income in order to
Mm.
be able to purchase. And that's from looking at Camden, New Jersey, that's looking at Philadelphia, that's looking at, looking at some of the other initiatives that are around that and organizations that focus on giving access to people who have licensing and being electricians, being contractors, all sorts of things. More of a story here. Until we're able to leverage the playing field and what someone makes per hour, there's always going to be a challenge between a single family household, I'm sorry, single parent household or single earner household being able to afford a home versus somebody who has to have two or three in a household making income. That's my most general answer I can give you because I'm not the expert in that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And a lot of it does come, and I think a lot of it does come down to how the education system is structured, with the education dollars coming from the property taxes. Because if you live in a not so good area, and the school's funding come from the property taxes, and and a lot of people, you come from a renter's neighborhood, or a blighted area, all that affects the school that you go to and the environment. See, all of this stuff, and this is my humble opinion, all
Mhm.
this stuff stacks on each other. If I'm going to school and I always have an issue because I'm in a bad neighborhood, I may not be able to concentrate when going to school. Then when I'm coming home, then I'm getting into it. There's problems there. I don't have sufficient nourishment when I go home. And then I'm going to a school that's not properly funded. So since the school's not properly funded, I'm not getting the education that I need to compete with other individuals in this global market with the internet we're really living in.
Yep.
So these issues have to be addressed. And again, in a capitalistic society, you're going to have the haves and you're going to have the have-nots. That's the way the structure is. Um, so people just have to find a way individually, and collectively, to kind of get it out of that have-not space. And for some people it is through, or for a lot of people it is through education, and but a lot of the times it's things that you can't control,
And
because a child, I'm gonna make this last point, because a child can't control where they grow up at, because they're still a child.
nope, they cannot. I will say this though, and this is what I'll say because I've watched people when you gain access and when you see the light switch go on, right? You see the change.
Mm,
So
mm,
I'm going to say a couple things here. And this is from having the blessing of being able to see different places and how they manage and how people make do. And I'm not saying make do with the bare minimum or accept less than, but oftentimes what you have is enough. I'm not saying poverty is enough. I'm not saying that at all. But oftentimes, I think in capitalism, um, we we make the poor decision to say you need as much as possible in order to feel complete. And
mm,
oftentimes you just need to have enough to sustain and do well without overburdening yourself with more. We complicate our lives with more. That's something I heard an elder say.
mm,
And the older I get, the more I'm beginning to understand that. So I'll say that sometimes we don't have to complicate ourselves with more. There are
mm.
the haves and the have-nots. A lot of the haves hoard,
Right,
and there's a difference. You don't need to
right,
hoard. You just need
right,
to be able to redistribute. Say that.
right.
Secondly, there's a lot of opportunity in trades and non-degree job fields and job fields that you don't necessarily need to have,
Mm,
$1,000 or $100,000 in school debt. Oftentimes, being the electrician who has some hustle will
right.
get you far. Having reputable business services and being available and consistent gets you far, and you don't necessarily need to have the college degree to have the success. And so I would challenge a lot of our community members who, and I see a lot of people doing it, but the more resources you have access to, because maybe you have the degrees and that access, bring them back, see who's interested, plant that seed,
I agree.
and you'd be surprised. That's
I
all I got.
agree. No, I agree 100%, because I mean, being a college graduate, I don't use any of it. So I listen. I'll always tell this story. I got a couple kids, and my kids need a good excuse to go to college, because really, with the access to the internet, mentors, and so on and so forth,
Mhm.
you really got to convince me that you need to go to college, because for majority of things out there, I don't think that you need to. So let's move on for the sake of time.
Yep.
The next is education and financial preparedness. NARAB's initiatives like the Building Wealth Building Black Wealth Tour aims to prepare financially for home ownership. This involves providing information and resources to potential Black homeowners about the process and financial aspects of buying a home. Now, my question to this is that is there not enough information out there for Black homeowners to get a handle on what the process is?
So there's enough information out there. At the end of the day, we're talking about consistency and we're talking
Mm,
about execution.
mm,
And I say this because I think also a part of pushing forward with financial literacy and homeownership education and credit repair. And again, all these things are great, and absolutely do them and advocate for them. But at the same time, now we need to start having a different conversation about our cultural practices as a country, right? The consumerism that actually keeps a lot of us from obtaining our financial goals. That's that's often what happens, and it's a struggle. It is truly a struggle.
it is. And the last one was just closing the gap
Mhm.
of the wealth gap between black and white. Um, wow. After reading that book, the Color of Code, the Color of Law,
Color of law. Hmm.
I mean, if you're running a race and it's a mile race, which is 4 times around the track, and that the person that you're chasing has a 2 lap head start through housing market through the housing market, um, someone can say like the run up has already gone.
Mm, yes and no.
Um,
Yes and
well,
no.
well, hold on. For example, in Levittown, I mean, which they kind of use as the quintessential redlining situation. You look at Levittown; they bought those houses back in 19 whatever for like $15,000, and today they're $400,000. You're not going to see that run up in a couple of generations. And I guess when I say that, that's what I'm speaking of. When I'm talking to individuals where maybe they stand a little bit further than me, where they're like, "Oh well, I'm not. I don't want to play the victim role." It's like, yeah, I'm not playing the victim role also, but there needs to be an asterisk that yeah, I can invest all I want into homes right now. In my lifetime, I'm not going to see a run up of $15,000 to $400,000. And this is something that so we're looking at the wealth gap. And if you put it to just housing, I mean it's like a 3 or 4 generation head start. So how do we close that gap when we don't have 3 or 4 generations? We got one generation, which is ours, and a lot of us, like myself, have seen more sunrises than we're going to see.
Hmm.
So I don't know what you say about it.
So that's I said yes and no. Absolutely, none of us are going to be having a plethora of $15,000 properties that are going to run up in equity up to $400,000. Absolutely not. I'm very big about context. So, are you going to get that $15,000 property? You might get a $15,000 piece of lot land,
Hmm.
right? You may not get it in your backyard. You might have to get it in Detroit. You might have to get it in Illinois. You might have to get it in Ohio. We have to start changing. We have so much access to so much space. We have to start changing the way we go about implementing these plans. The plans are still valid. They just may not happen exactly where you live.
Hmm.
So, and I have this conversation for a lot of my clients who are in New York, and they can't buy a single thing. Nobody can buy anything in New York unless you got mafia money. I don't care what anyone says. You need mafia money, you need blood money, something. That's it. That's how rough it is in New York, right?
Right.
To buy real estate as a first time buyer. When you're in the city, outside of that, maybe a little bit better. But my point is, I have to have the conversation with them, broaden your expectations, broaden your horizons on this. You may
Mhm.
have to buy a property in Philadelphia and commute. You may have to buy a property in Maryland and commute. You may have to look in Connecticut, Rhode Island, whatever it is. You may have to change the way you go about building your generational wealth, but understand that the plan still applies. So it's
Right.
okay if you can't get the $15,000 property that'll appreciate to 400K. You might just get the $150,000 property that might appreciate to 350K, right? And if you're
Right.
smart about how you pay that debt down, you may still be able to take advantage of that equity and buy the next one in cash. You have to understand your financial game plan. Stop looking at, I know what history says, and history is important to learn from. However, I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna get a $15,000 piece of property right now that's gonna run up that bag. However, I'm gonna go ahead and look for that 250 that might be able to give me maybe 375 later. Or I'm going to look for that 100,000 that needed a little bit of work that's going to give me 250 later. I am going to pay attention to what makes sense from a financial and numerical standpoint for me and still run up the same wealth plan. Our biggest limitation is what we tell ourselves actually
Mm,
works instead of saying what can fit my plan, instead of trying to make, how do I make my plan fit, instead of being like, oh well, it's not 15 or $25,000, I can't do it, it's not going to work, the numbers don't make
mm,
sense. That's not true. Find find the $115,000 property in a neighborhood that you keep being told is invaluable, but it isn't. It's a pot of gold. And every investor is coming into those neighborhoods. People, Kensington is a great example. Look at look at how much people talk about Kensington and being the Walking Dead and being zombie land and everything else about it. What is happening currently in Kensington?
new
You're watching
construction.
the slow movement, right? They
Right,
keep moving further and further up and out, and you see the development happening.
right,
It's they told you it was invaluable, and they came in and they did what? They're erecting new development right now
right, right,
for
right,
and it's lower priced than New York, so you know you're gonna get New York folk coming in, right?
right,
Maybe
right, right.
500, maybe three something. It's somewhere within that range. All I'm saying is you missed an opportunity to take advantage because you thought it was invaluable. Stop allowing people to tell you what's invaluable. Start paying attention to what your government is doing with the police forces. Pay attention to what the city plans are for where you live. That will tell
Right.
you target areas to look into early. Yes, they're rough, but in order to have a community, you got to get in and do the work anyway.
Right. And by the time you know about it, it's too late.
I literally just gave
It's
two places to look. Get online, look at look at city development plans. It's public knowledge. It's not something that's hiding. It's right. The same phone you use to get on TikTok and Instagram is the same phone that you can
mm,
search and say, what are the city development plans for Philadelphia, for Camden, for any other city? What are the development plans? Where are they building railways? Where are they building subway lines? I'm from the DMV. The first thing that they did was make sure to expand out the subway system into the tri-state.
all right.
And then what did they do? Development along the subway.
Yep. 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 Out to Vienna. I used to live in Vienna.
Hmm.
Out there. Wow. Well. All right. Well, listen. We can talk about this all day, but tell people where they can find you at.
You can find me on Instagram, medicine the number two mortgages, medicine the number two mortgages. I'm on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, Elizabeth Parris, NMLS 1151108 6. I got an email, elizabeth.paris@movement.com. I'm around.
All right, cool beans. Well, that's a wrap. Again, this is Khalid Nathan Aleem, the real estate boy. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, I got you. And if you do want to get in contact with Elizabeth and for some reason you missed her information, contact me and I will definitely put you in contact with her. Thanks for your time, guys. And to everybody out there, man, just look at the information, man, and keep pumping. I'll see y'all next week.